Hi guys, happy Monday. I just thought tonight would be a good night to talk about setting goals because it's the first of the year and it's just our group versus like the power plan where sometimes there's people on there that I don't know very well. And so obviously when I was thinking about goal setting, it made me think a lot about goal setting, not the actual goals that we set, but talking about how to set goals was one of the big things that we talked about at the leadership retreat this past September in Florida. And so if you guys saw, I held up my book and Sandra held up her book. This is the book. It's called, see, look at all these books. I love it. This book is called The Circle Maker. This is what I basically based the entire leadership retreat off of. And so I'm not going to do like a total repeat necessarily of the retreat because it can't be recreated in the fact that we're not all hanging out in the living room in Florida having a great time. But I do want to go over some of it tonight because I know for me personally, when it's like goal setting time, I'm the first person who wants to like pull out a sheet of paper and start writing down all my goals, right? And, they revolve around places and people and things. And while that is important, and I do believe that that is part of it, I'm going to go a little bit deeper tonight. And I'm going to talk about when you are setting your goals, how you are most likely setting them really, really low and not even knowing it. And so I will just preface this, and this is the same kind of preface I gave at the retreat. Whether you believe in Jesus or Buddha or the universe, whoever it is that you aspire to, I'm going to refer to God. You can plug in whatever you believe in, okay? So I'm not here to preach religion. I'm just here to talk to you about expanding your mind and opening up your ideas, because as many goals as you have probably set in your life or just in your business in the last year or so, I can promise that they're smaller than they need to be. I can just totally promise. And I know a lot of you that were in Florida, you all know where I'm going with this. But even though we just talked about this not that long ago, I feel like I want to talk about it again. I feel like I need to hear it again. So hopefully this will be a good repeat for all of you. And for those of you that don't know, I'm 47 and blind. So I had to borrow readers. Hey, Lisa, I don't have to borrow your readers tonight. I have my own on tonight. But I'm not blind enough to like wear them all the way up. Like I can see you fine, but I can't see the book. So I'm in that really awkward stage. Getting old is fun. Okay. So anyway, I will be talking, I'm going to be actually saying some things that are in this book. If you're interested in this book, you can get it on Amazon now. I'm not sure. I think I bought mine at Hobby Lobby years ago, but it's called The Prayer Circle. There's lots of prayer circles. So this was like the first prayer circle. This was the first book that he wrote. And now there's like a prayer circle for couples, prayer circle for teens, which actually Lindsay Dickens said that she got the prayer circle for teens. She said it actually kind of dumbs it down, makes it even easier to understand, which I think would be your shirt has circles. Oh, it does. I didn't even notice that. But she said that the teen one is even easier to understand. So if you get the book and you feel like a little overwhelmed, because she has this book, all the girls got the book at the retreat, but she's gone through it. But she said the teen version was even easier. Sandra says I have sort of the 40-day prayer challenge. Okay. Oh, there it is. And using it as my devotional right now. Oh, good. Yeah. There's lots of, like I said, it started with one book, but he's got lots of stuff that goes with it now. So if you get into it and you enjoy it, or you hop on Amazon and you see one that you think you might like better, like just go with whatever your heart says, because I'm sure they're all good. But basically what he talks about is there's the backstory, this guy named Honey. There's a whole story for that. I'm not going to tell you all of that. But what Mark talks about in this book is how when we pray, and so think about this, whether you're praying in the religious sense, or maybe you're praying as in I'm hoping and aspiring to a goal. So like when you're like, I want to hit 12K this month and get that car, that's a version of a prayer, right? That's, some of you may be praying, Jesus, help me get this car. And some of you may be like, I'm going to put it out in the universe and I want this car. However you're putting it out there, that's a version of a prayer. So again, when I say God, you can say whatever. When I say prayer, just know that's what I'm talking about. It's basically I don't know, like it's like putting energy into words, or the thoughts might even be the energy that you're putting out there. So basically bold prayers are what we're going to talk about, because bold prayers honor God and God honors bold prayers. He is not offended by your biggest dreams or your boldest prayers. As a matter of fact, he is offended by anything less. If your prayers aren't impossible for you, they are an insult to God. So when you start praying and hoping and dreaming for things like 12K, that's chump change for him, right? Chump change. Like he made you, he made the trees, he made the birds, the ocean. And you're like, oh, I'll never hit 12K. And he's like, wow, aim higher. aim bigger. Like, why do you want to hit 12K? So that's kind of the direction we're going to go. And I do want to, this is totally open. You can unmute and you can chit chat whenever you want. If you have something you want to add or something you want to say, those of you that were at the retreat and you've kind of gone through some of this before, if you've learned something from it, or maybe you did something that you got from this, you're welcome to please hop in here too. Basically, what I want to get at is that when you are sitting down making your vision boards for this year, or you're going through your business goals for this year, I want you to really think big. Like I titled this God-sized dreams. Like, I don't even know how to put that into words. Like, think about it. He made everything, right? This is all his. So when you're like thinking that you want to move into a new house, or you want to lose 20 pounds, or you want to, whatever it is, like that's all totally possible. You're the only thing standing in the way. So that's what we're gonna talk about. Anyway, all right. You are one prayer away from a dream fulfilled, a promise kept, or a miracle performed. So maybe you know someone who isn't well, or maybe you're not well, or maybe you know someone who's in debt up to their eyeballs, or someone who's maybe going to lose their house, or someone like there's all these dire things that we think, you know, how are we going to get through this? How will we do this? Well, we don't have to do it. He's going to do it with us, right? He's excited about the challenge that you think you have in front of you. So you are one prayer away from that fulfilled dream. God is for you. And then this one is one of my favorite things. Who you become is determined by how you pray. So again, let's think about that. Are you praying or wishing or hoping or dreaming, whatever you want to call it? Are you praying consistently? Are you praying boldly? Are you getting out of your own way when you pray? So a lot of times you might feel yourself wanting to pray for something or ask for something, but you stop yourself because you think you're not worthy of it. Or you think, I'm not there yet. I can't ask for that. Or I haven't done XYZ, so I don't deserve this yet. Do you ever have that moment when you're like, maybe even putting together your vision board for the year? You're just putting your sales goals together for the month and you're like, oh, I couldn't, like somebody's like, I want to be 80K, but how could I do that? I'm not even 40K. Like, I don't deserve that yet. I haven't worked hard enough yet. I haven't been here long enough yet. Again, it's how you pray. Pray boldly, pray in a thankful manner. So in other words of saying, gosh, I really hope I can get to that 80K. I really hope you can help me. How about rewording it and saying, thank you for getting me there. Already imagine yourself there. Already know that you can be there. So whatever it is you're putting on your vision board, don't look at it and think, gosh, I'm silly for cutting out the picture of that giant house. No, you're not silly. You can thank him for that. You can thank him for already doing all of these things in your life. There's so much that's going on in your life that we don't stop to thank him for during the day, because I am so used to living in a warm, dry house. I don't think to stop and thank over and over and over, right? But somebody out there somewhere is begging for what I have. So how often, how consistently, and how boldly, and how thankful are you when you are asking for your prayers? And this also talks about prayer. So I should give you a little backstory. The circle of prayer part comes from the story that starts the whole book. So again, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but basically what we did at the retreat, every night we went down to the beach and we took a stick or our finger and we drew a circle in the sand and we stood in that circle and we just said our prayers, whatever it was, and as long as it took. And that's how basically he talks about really taking the time to focus and just keep drawing circles around what it is that you want, so you can get more and more clear about it. Like, when they tell you on a vision board, like the more accurate. So if you want to have a 2-story house with a 3-car garage and you want to have a pool, if you can find, you could be really detailed about that stuff. But if you circle long enough, you'll eventually be like, I want that 2-story house with the 3-car garage and the pool on this street in this city. And I want this person living. Like, you get really clear on your goals when you spend time with them. And so that's really where the circle comes from. So the next statement that I will pull from the book, it says, drawing circle prayers isn't a magic trick. That's the thing you have to remember. Just because you're going to set the prayer and you're going to circle the prayer, it doesn't mean it's like magically going to happen. Because again, it's not our time, it's his time. God is not a genie in a bottle, and his wish is not your command. As a matter of fact, his command better be your wish. That's a tough one, right? That's a super tough one. So, and this also talks about when you are setting your goals or saying your prayers. And this is how I was talking about a lot of times we stop ourselves. I felt underqualified and overwhelmed, but that is when God has you right where he wants you. So, those moments like where you're making the vision board or you're talking about your goals for the month. And I know I've done this before. I'm like, I'm going to get 4 customers this week. And like in the back of my head, I'm like, no, I'm not. I have no idea I'm going to do that. That just sounded good. I don't know what I'm going to do next, right? Like you're in that moment where like you're asking for it and you're saying you're going to do it, but you really don't know how the hell you're going to do it. That's where he wants you. That's when the magic happens. That's when you have to take that leap of faith and be like, okay, I put it out there. Somehow it got into my brain and came out my mouth, made that goal. So now how am I going to get there? Well, again, you got to get out of your own way and not try to do it on your own. You have to invite in the world around you. And that involves faith, which is super hard. Let's see. And one of my other favorite things is God won't do it unless you pray for it. And I know some people will argue with that, but think about it. If you're not asking for it, if you're not willing to work for it, you're not willing to dream about it, why would it come to fruition? Why is it just going to fall into your lap? Right? Shouldn't you be focused on things? Shouldn't you be dreaming about things that are so big that the only way possible they could happen in your life was for God to intervene? Like if I pray for a turkey sandwich in my life, that's not a big deal. I can go to the kitchen and make that right now by myself, right? I know someone else's life that could rock their world, but for me, that's not a big prayer. But if I prayed for a turkey farm, Tom will be like, don't you pray for a turkey farm? Like you have to really remember that our brains will stop us here when in reality we have this whole world in front of us. So the reason I want to talk about coming up with God-sized prayers are because I want you to come up with God-sized goals. Like when I throw out on Dream Team, what's your goals for the month? And I know there's always going to be like legitimate goals. Like, I want to get 2 new promoters, or I want to do my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like those are super important. And they're part of the process. But what do you really, truly want? What could this business be the vehicle for you to have or do in your life? And then get there, get to the scary, audacious goal, and then work your way backwards. So I will use, for example, one of the gals on the trip, after we'd been there a few days, pulled me aside and said, you know what, I've really thought about this. And I've had it in my heart. I would love to be able to pay for a child, a kid, basically a mini adult at that point. I would love to pay their college tuition, like to gift that every year to a kid, to gift a college tuition. Now think about that. How would that rock someone's world? Like the person getting the scholarship, clearly that's going to be amazing for them. And how would that rock your world to be able to be the person that could do that for someone? So but most people that have a child are like, oh my God, how am I going to send them to college? How am I going to send my own kid to college, right? How am I going to finance this? How are we going to do this? But to get yourself from that mindset to the mindset of, I would love to be able to send a kid to college, not even my own. So I'm going to start sending kids to college because that's what I want to do. I want to give back. Do you see how different that mindset has to be? And so from that audacious goal is when you start working your way back. Where do I need to be in my life? What position do I need to be in my life to be able to send someone else's kid to college? How do I want to pay for someone else's kid? So obviously I'm going to have my bills paid. I'm going to have money into some investments. So it's constantly earning more money to help pay for these things. I'm going to have to make X amount of dollars a week, a month, a year, whatever it is to get to where I want to go. That's how you start working your way back. And that's where it'll boil all the way down to, instead of I'm going to do 5 reach outs a day, I'm going to have to do 30 a day, right? That's where we get the details of our goals. But it's when you really start thinking about the big goal. And so that's what I want to challenge you guys to do is, what would be your God-sized dream? You don't have to tell me right now, but if you know one and you want to share, you could gladly, I'd be happy for people to share. Or not. I know it's hard. It's hard to open up, especially on a Zoom like that. But when you, and again, and Lindsay's not on here tonight, but one of the things that Lindsay shared after the retreat was she always knew that it would be fun to have like a vacation home. Like, so a lot of times I think we think, again, small. It might seem big to be like, I want to have a vacation home. That is going to be so great. It's like Sonia says, a house on the beach. That's exactly where Lindsay was. I want to have a house on the beach. By the end of the retreat, she realized she wanted to have a house on the beach because she wanted to be able to bring people to her house on the beach. She wanted to be able to invite groups of women to her house on the beach. Then it became, I want to be able to invite single moms to my house on the beach and treat them to a vacation they would never get to have. So it got deeper and deeper and more meaningful for her. And I mean, I've talked to you guys about that before. I would love to have an amazing house too, someplace by the water, not just because I want to have an amazing house, but because I want it to be the thing where my nephews want to come, where I can send them a plane ticket and be like, okay, come out this weekend, come stay with me for 4 or 5 days. I want to be in that financial position, not just, oh, I have a really cool house and I'm into debt up to my eyeballs. Shantae says, I am working on my mobile salon for homebound clients. Yes. And Shantae, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is something you had in your heart, but you really got into touch with that when you were at the retreat, right? Like you really started diving in. Oh, we can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I wasn't expecting the retreat to be so emotional for me. But I really learned a lot about myself, and how do I want to say that? I felt more confident in myself and in my abilities when I came back home. That and you, maybe you guys know this, maybe you don't, but I actually separated from my business partner, and I am now independently working in a different salon 4 blocks up the road. Long story short, but I felt that that was a release that I had to get to in order for me to move forward. I felt that that was holding me back to go forward, and I couldn't let that go until after all the stuff that I learned at the retreat.
Good. That's exciting. How close are you to your mobile salon? I know you're working on it, as in like.
I'm building the clientele right now. We've looked at RVs, but I'm looking more towards transit buses now.
Oh.
I'm still going into homes and doing haircuts, but I want to be able to offer like sets and perms and things. And I feel like this will help their mental health. If I could just get to their driveway to get them out of the house for just a little bit.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So that's the kind of goals I'm talking about, you guys. So when Shantae has a goal that big, one of the vehicles that can get her there is her Lavelle business. And so it's when you can connect a giant, meaningful goal to what you're doing on the day-to-day that then turns your day-to-day into an enjoyable process. When you know in the back of your mind, I'm going to send 30 reach outs today, and I'm going to try to get 2 new customers. I'm going to really work this buy one, get one, or whatever the heck promo is happening, because at the end of the day, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to create this business that means so much to me. Or I'm going to take this money and I'm going to create this philanthropy that means so much to me. When you can really connect to your bigger dreams and visions, the day-to-day of being told no, or I want to cancel my auto ship, or I thought that the chocolate shake tasted gross, like little stuff like that, it's like a duck. It will literally roll off your back because that has nothing to do with the big picture anymore. So when you're setting your goals, it is important to do your tasks. Like to me, there's a big difference between my daily tasks and my goals. Like goals are where I want to go in life. Goals are what I want to do with my time in life. Tasks are how I'm going to get myself there. So it's just like when somebody says, I want to lose 50 pounds because I want to get off this heart medicine. That's a really important goal. But then that makes it easier to be like, okay, I'm going to walk a mile every day. I'm going to eat fish instead of a pizza tonight. Like that's how like, I think that's an example that everyone can kind of understand. But that's what I want you to start thinking about when you're writing your big goals. Like everyone says, your why has to make you cry or whatever. It may or may not make you cry. I don't know. But it has to mean enough to you that I do think there's got to be a level of like, it's so big, it's scary. Like how the hell would I ever, how could I do this on my own kind of thing? But also case in point to Shantae's point, when you are thinking about your goals and where you want to go and how you want to get there, one of the quickest ways to get there is to look at the path that you're currently on and see what's in the way. So when she saw this other business and this other goal, this other place she wanted to be, she saw a roadblock. And you can't get to different places with your goals until you get rid of those roadblocks. So a roadblock can be something as simple as I've developed a habit of watching Netflix for 2 hours every night before bed. That could literally be the roadblock to your absolute success in life. Only you will know that, right? Some of you can do a couple hours of Netflix or watch a show or whatever, and it's not derailing you or taking your time away. But some of you might be doing something that's stopping you. It's like the person who's always working on their health goal, but they're like, but I have to have beer I have to have my beer on Saturday night. Well, do you really have to, or how important is your goal? So when you're dreaming of these big places you want to go and you start working your way backwards, that's where you have to start finding those roadblocks and making it's like I talked a little bit last night, like the contract you make with yourself. If you're telling yourself that you have this goal and you see this roadblock and you're not willing to get rid of the roadblock, the contract you're making about your original goal, like how solid is that contract that you made with yourself? Because you're not even willing to get rid of something. Courtney says, Shantae, I love that you said the retreat helped you release things that were holding you back. I totally related because Sam's Leader Retreat in 2020 did that for me. And so many things changed after that weekend. Yeah. So let's just do a shout out here really quick for leader retreats. I'm going to tell you from hosting one and being at a couple of them, they're not easy to have. Like they're a lot of work. But it's awesome that we have that ability to do that for one another and help each other get away and get out of our day to day so that you can actually focus on things. And so that's something else I want to throw in here really quickly before we run out of time. When you're looking at your goals and you start thinking about how big they really could be. And remember, if you can do it by yourself, that's not really a goal. That's just a task that you have in your life, right? If I say to you, my goal this week is 2 customers and 2 promoters, that's just a task. If I say to you, I want to be 200K by the end of the month, that's a God-sized goal because I'm going to need a whole lot of support on that one. I'm going to need a whole lot of divine intervention and customers falling from the sky, right? So when you get to that point, spend time with it. I think a lot of times we rush through our goal setting because we are like, well, I'm going to cut out a picture of this house. I'm going to cut out a picture of this car. And yeah, I'm done. No, spend some time with it. Like really get detailed. So back to the circle idea. Let's say you are dreaming about your auto bonus, right? And you've cut out the picture of the white Land Rover. Have you touched it? Have you test driven it? Have you smelled the leather? Have you picked out exactly the color leather you want? Do you know what kind of floor mats you want? Do you know, like, I don't like think these things through. Can you feel your cup getting put in the cup holder? Like, do you feel yourself driving it? Can you do all those things? And the more you spend time with it becoming real in your mind, it can become real in real life. Sandra says, I always let myself down. And the retreat propelled me to get through some things. I'm not letting God and myself down anymore. I'm not honoring him and his gifts he'd given. Yes. TJ says, I touched, smelled, and all the things. Yeah, true. TJ did. He drove my car. So he touched and did all the things in my car. But I made a post today on Facebook. And so I'll refer to that really quickly. I know sometimes when people are like vision boards, blah, affirmations, blah, people get like, or it's voodoo or whatever. This cup in my hand, this cup, right? It's just one of those metal, actually Lisa got me this. This is Plant Mom. I love it. But it's one of those metal coffee cup things, right? That I drink tea out of. There is somewhere an engineer drawing of this cup that says what kind of metal it has to be made out of, how thick it has to be, where the seam has to go, how the lid would be shaped, what the diameter would be, right? There's there's engineered drawings for this because before this became a cup, it was an idea. It had to be drawn out. It had to be specified to the minute detail so that someone could build a machine to make the cup, right? The house you're sitting in right now, there is a floor plan somewhere that someone drew up to build that house. The to-do list you have for tomorrow, that is a list of things that you know in your mind of what you need to get done and how you're going to do them. Those are all versions of vision boards. So don't discount taking the time to get connected to your goals, not only by writing them down, but like by visually seeing them. Like, I don't know about you, but just a to-do list, when I'm like, I got to go to the bank, then I got to go to Kroger, then I got to swing by Walgreens. I'm already in my head, like mapping it out on the road. Like I know which one I'm going to go to first. I can see it. And then guess what happens? I leave the house and I follow that exact route that I just made up in my head. And I do all the things I said I was going to do. So if you start getting overwhelmed by goals and vision boards, remember, they're just to-do lists that you are creating. It's the to-do list you want to have. It's like, I have to go to the dermatologist tomorrow. I don't really want to have it on my to-do list, but my vision board is my to-do list that I want to create. So if you really start to think about that, like how would you want to structure your ideal day? What would your dream day be? Where would you be waking up? What time of day would you wake up? Would you be eating breakfast right away, or would you be going for a walk? When you start really structuring down to the minute detail of what you want in your life, that's when you can actually start to create it. So this was just a 30-minute snippet of something that we talked about for 5 days. This is like nothing, I'm sorry, but this is all I have time for. But if you guys are interested in more, want to know more, definitely pick up the book, The Circle Maker. It's not expensive. This one says $10.19, and I'm pretty sure this is the one I got at the Hobby Lobby years ago. But it's just a really great book as far as helping you reset your mind and reminding yourself that as much as you might think you're a big dreamer and a big doer and a big go-getter, because I like to call myself those things, you're not. When I really sit and think about what I had planned for today to get done on a Monday, like that's nothing compared to what I could have done with my life. Good, bad, or ugly. It's just true. So I want you guys to start thinking about those things. I just want to encourage you to remember that you're not in this alone. Not only do you have all of us, but you have the big man. And there's really not much you can't do without him, even the good, bad, and the ugly. So, all right. If you guys need anything, let me know. I will post a recording. Again, I encourage that book greatly. And hopefully this was helpful for some of you. And if you want to talk more about it, I gladly will. I just couldn't do that whole thing in 30 minutes. So, bye.